best hood channel on YouTube in the low bottoms of South Central on the east side with the
YouTube. Welcome back to a brand new video. It's your boy Lil M, and I got a brand new reaction video for you guys. Today we're gonna be reacting to Street News Politic, man. Street News, sorry I haven't pronounced that. Street News Politic, gang. You already know, man. Tap into the best street channel on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? I be watching them. They be keeping me updated on everything in LA, man. So shout out to them over there. Y'all make sure to go show some love. But yo, y'all lock in right here, right now, bro. Comment, like, subscribe to the video. Let go.
Rabbit Gang, Playboys to that set. Now the East Side Rabbits are a notorious, well-known hood over here in the Lows, sharing they hood with 5 Trey Avalon Gangsta Crib, not too far from Fadu's Broadway. Florencia's over here, Audio 38th Street. The Pueblos is up in this section, but somebody who's put it on to a national scale, one of the hottest Hispanic artists coming out the West Coast, Peso from 56th Street in the Playboys. Now, while everybody's been watching Peso do his thing, and they've also got a front row seat into some division going over here on the east side, the feds have also been here in the background with a federal indictment on the East Side Rabbits. And we about to open the paperwork up and show y'all who's the main beneficiary of Peso's rap career over here on the east side. An individual from the Mexican Mafia known as Big Rabbit, who's imposed a 10 to 20% tax on everything coming out the Playboys, and is the successor to a piece of Danny Popeye Roman's empire from the Harpies after he was murdered due to Mexican Mafia politics. Now, the paperwork on one of the trials in this indictment just dropped last month, but the indictment came out in 2022 in what the feds called Operation Down the Rabbit Hole.
But fuck that, I want them all dead. Operation Rabbit Hole, these niggas all fed. Can't run game on me, shit, we can all play it. Go to war and get shit cracking till we all lay.
Now, the initial investigation started in 2018, where they said PBS was the most active gang over here in the low bottoms. And during this investigation, wiretaps brought the feds to a front row seat to the murder of Danny Popeye Roman, and they got to see how the pieces moved around between Florencia and PBS in regards to who was going to take control of the territory over here in South Central. And this is how we get to 46 and Avalon in a trap spot ran by an individual named Alicio Luna, aka Crazy, Chilo, or El Abogado, which translates to the lawyer. Now, the feds allege that Crazy was the shot caller of 46th Street. We know Playboys have multiple cliques, and they focus on multiple dudes that was running them cliques. 35th Street Zoo Riders. They allege that Mr. Keep It Hood's brother, Bobby Edwards, aka Negro, somebody who we see is rolling tight with Peso, the feds say he was a shot caller for the Zoo Riders over on 35th Street. And in the paperwork, we gonna detail a situation with Negro and his right-hand man, Moises Alonzo, aka Rascal, the shot caller of 43rd Street, where they was planning to flock the Blue Bucks clan. And from there, they went up the chain to an individual from 56th Street, the Chicos Locos clique, Jorge Linares, aka Goofy, who was sitting in prison when the indictment jumped off, and is said to be a direct conduit to an individual they refer to as Mexican Mafia 1, aka Big Rabbit. Now, Goofy's counterpart was a female named Coco, Dionicia Roman, who has no relation to Danny Roman, but she played the same role as Viana Roman, Danny Roman's daughter, was serving as the secretary for Big Rabbit, a Mexican Mafia member running PBS from the pen. And those individuals led the FBI to Isidro Olmos, sitting in Corcoran, aka Big Rabbit, the individual that the feds allege took full control of PBS after Danny Roman was killed. Now, in 2020, Danny Roman's murder sent PBS and Florencia into a spiral. We spoke about them dudes in Florencia, Tablas and Wizard, with Wizard being somebody that we see over and over again in communication with them guys. But Wizard and Big Rabbit, along with their foot soldiers, were having problems because there was a lot of money left on the street after Popeye was killed. So again, the fans start paying attention in 2018 before that murder happened, but everything really started with Coco, Donicia Roman, in 2017, who was clearly an older woman, 56 years old right now. She proclaimed to dabble in dope a little bit, but she stated that in 2017, she would accompany her homegirl up to Pelican Bay to visit one of her homegirl's peoples. This is when her homegirl's people introduces her to Isidro Olmos, aka Big Rabbit. Now, Big Rabbit is currently in Centinela prison after this indictment, but he's been sitting down, going through multiple different prisons, of course, Pelican Bay, Corcoran, and he's been down since 1988 on a second-degree murder charge and had the chance to parole all the way back in 2001. He went in 3 years after Danny Roman, and as you can see, they both clearly took the road to membership into the Mexican Mafia and said, fuck the streets. And we see how it played out for Danny. When his indictment came out in 2012, he had $45,000 in his prison account. So this is what these guys is looking to do, run the bag up behind the walls. And in 2017, he's sitting back in Pelican Bay looking for a companion. You know what I'm saying? So Dionisia Roman ends up getting his line and they fall into communication. Now, shortly after this, Big Rabbit is moved to Corcoran, ends up marrying Dionisia while he's still sitting down in 2017. Corcoran, they were able to have physical visits. Dionisia's bringing her daughter with her. You know, some real ghetto ass shit went on. And this is when Big Rabbit started grooming her to start handling business in the low bottoms with the Eastside Playboys. Now, her background, she never lived over here in the PBS's. The closest she was over here in the Florencias off 71st and Holmes. But she had multiple spots between Lancaster and Pineville. So she's not a homegrown, low bottom baby over here with the Rabbits. She was inserted into this situation to take care of Big Rabbit's business. But again, Danny Roman is still out here doing his thing in 2017. And the feds allege that he was in control of everything from Washington to Imperial. That kind of power had a lot of people.
It's a real person. It's one person running a whole street blocks, nigga, of like people on some street shit. One nigga. My bro, that's insane.
Plotting on him, as you can imagine, and as you see as to what happened with him. But once Coco marries Big Rabbit, she starts dealing with Crazy and Goofy. Now again, 4607 South Avalon. Goofy got a trap spot. He also had another one on Vernon where he had a smoker, Kevin Butler, aka White Boy, doing his business and running it for him, sending proceeds back up to Big Rabbit. Now, White Boy was said to have been claiming 40s at one point in time, 40 crib. But the feds, when they started to implement wiretaps, they caught many conversations between Crazy and White Boy, who I believe was mixed, like black or white, where White Boy is somewhat being a servant to Crazy, where he answers this dude, yes sir, and does whatever needs to be done over here on 46 and Avalon. It said that Crazy and the Rabbits were protecting White Boy from the Avalons again. It's alleged that White Boy at one point was claiming neighborhood 40s and operating over here on the east side of the Avalons. They was on this dude and he was relying on PBS to take care of him. It's been said that Crazy done slapped this dude up in front of people, all kind of crazy shit. So this is a smoker. Now, Crazy is one of three Luna brothers on this indictment. Two of his brothers also went down in this situation. Eduardo Luna, aka Flaco, who was also an older homie pulling strings over here on the east side, and Luis Luna, aka Fleet, who found himself in a bad position that the feds got a front row to when the wiretap was implemented over here on the east side Playboys. Now, Crazy is doing his thing, working closely with Coco, sending money from his traps up to Big Rabbit. He also has a car dealership that the feds were staking out from time to time as well. Luna's Auto Nation on 83rd and Central. The feds also got him dealing with Hitman from East Coast. Now, I don't know which Hitman and which coast they speaking on. There's multiple Hitman from the coast, but the feds say Chilo was working with East Coast, moving packs, and he was in control of the one-ways off the 110. Now, the one-ways, Flower and Grand Avenue. It said that Playboys was operating on both sides of the 110 on those one-ways. Now, Grand is behind the Fidus Broadways, south of Vernon, and PBS has an enemy hood on the one-ways right there as well, 5-5 Bunch. Now, north of Vernon is some more enemies, the Hangout Boys.
That sounds funny as hell.
Grand. And on Flower, I don't know how they were running things on Flower, but across Flower, 18th Street is right there with Fidus Hoover, across the 110 down Flower between Vernon and Slauson. But one thing that we continuously see with the Mexican Mafia, these control spots, and how they be making their money, all these places be divided up into certain sections and people are sanctioned to work in certain hoods. And this also causes friction, but at the end of the day, it's always some dudes at the top that's getting paid while these dudes at the bottom is out here beefing it and shooting it up. Now, there was a lot of communication had by Chilo that was expressing while Danny Roman was still alive who was running PBS. Everybody over here felt comfortable saying Big Rabbit was still running it, not Danny Roman. Now, when we looked in that Danny Roman indictment, him and his daughter Vienna was putting the squeeze on a lot of shit over here in the low bottoms. Barrio 38th Street, Loco Park, Barrio 36th Street, Barrio Mojados. But Big Rabbit was trying to keep control of Eastside Playboys, which is definitely a part of the big three when we got Barrio 38th Street, Florencia, and the Rabbit Gang right here. So 2 years into the investigation, the feds put the wiretap on Eastside Playboys, 10 taps in total. And they got a front row seat to the fallout between PBS and Florencia after Danny Roman passed. Now, these hoods were already beefing before Danny Roman passed, but when he was murdered, everybody wanted to know who got the piece of the pie. Goofy, Chilo, Coco, and another individual named Rene Sanchez, aka Huero, leaned into Big Rabbit. Now, Huero was having an issue with an individual named Chico from Florencia who was trying to extort businesses and vendors in PBS hood. And on the other hand, Chilo was caught doing business in the Florencia. So them dudes stepping on each other's toes, jockeying for position. But now the feds allege, and this could be breaking information, the feds allege Big Rabbit and PBS is in control of everything from Washington to Imperial between Avalon and Western now. And during the trial, prosecutors alleged that Playboys are in fact controlling over 100 blocks in South Central. Now, they hood does stretch past Avalon on the east side, but in terms of the Mexican Mafia money trade, I'm supposing that this is where their reign stops and Florencia picks up, with Wizard and his people playing a role in this situation as well. Now, to briefly fast forward to where this has left Peso in this situation, we spoke on a video last year we did on him with his ties to Florencia and his emergence with the 5-6 block in the Eastside Playboys. The interview that Tommy Guns just did on the Food Community was very telling of Peso's position in this whole situation with the power struggle.
So when you say this, I'm thinking of fools that have to deal with problems outside this rap shit. Fools can rap gangster, but who's really getting those phone calls at the end of these interviews like, hey, you fucked up. Who's really seeing those posts on the internet, you signing a record deal and you getting those calls like, you got money? You got money now?
We know Money Sign Sway didn't fully align himself with Florencia. He didn't want to pay the tax and he didn't want to align himself with the program behind them walls. Now, there was a lot of scrutiny behind Peso's alliance with PBS and his past dealings with Florencia. And ultimately, we see who he decided to side with, even though he's not from this area of PBS. He's closer to Florencia. But Tommy Guns alluded to getting the phone calls from up top. That's exactly what's going on, especially with the guys that Peso was around being directly tied in to Big Rabbit, Isidro Olmos, looking for that rap money, tax money. Again, like I said,
rap money, tax money.
The same block as Peso was from. And Keep It Hood's brother, somebody who's around Peso, making a lot of moves with 35th Street, being directly tied in. This puts Peso at that prized possession spot. Now, I've heard some things have changed. I heard he hasn't been pulling up to his hood the way he should be, and some people are starting to have questions. It's been said that he's been around the Sentinel boys a lot more and dudes he grew up with around Maywood. Now, I've seen SBS hitting up over there by Maywood. By the block, he's originally from over there, so he could be pulling away from PBS. It's only so long you can extort somebody because we see what's going on, and this was put in motion long before he got there. Now, February 22nd, 2020, Coco visits Big Rabbit in Corcoran, and Big Rabbit is expressing to her how he's beefing with another Mexican Mafia member. Now, this is 4 months before the murder of Danny Roman. The paperwork doesn't specify who he's beefing with, but there's some internal conflict going on behind the walls with Big Rabbit and his Mexican Mafia brothers. At this time, he also states that he wants everybody to stop dealing with Crazy, who's running a big money-making trap spot on 46 and Avalon. But there seems to be an issue with the proceeds going from Crazy up to Big Rabbit. So he starts to divide PBS into certain pockets. He has Coco and Huero. He has Mr. Keep It Hood's brother, Negro. And he has Goofy from 56th Street aligned with his way of thinking. He said nobody was to pay taxes to Crazy any longer on his behalf, even though Huero works closely with Crazy's brother, Flaco, when it comes to the tensions between them and Florencia. Now, I believe this indictment possibly saved Crazy's life, because after Big Rabbit makes the call for people to stop dealing with Crazy, 3 days later, Coco is on the call with Huero, telling him to get in contact with his people from F-13 to get Wizard's number for Big Rabbit. Now, it comes out that Coco wanted to talk to Wizard in regards to Crazy, and it sounded like they were gonna put a plan in place to move Crazy around. And Crazy clearly was starting to feel some of that pressure. He's caught on the wiretap with Flaco a week after the conversations between Big Rabbit and Wizard from Florencia, speaking about how he wants to close down a trap on 46 and Avalon and how he's done paying his proceeds to Big Rabbit. Now, they may have stalled Crazy out for what they was planning 3 months later, where Danny Roman is killed June of 2020. Now, Roman was in communication heavy with Wizard from Florencia, and him and his daughter were operating the meat shop in Florencia Hood off 62nd and Compton Avenue, not too far from the Low Bottoms. Now, we know Spy from Lennox is one of the individuals that took Danny Roman out, but I can't say who made the call and put his name on the list to divide up this money over here in South Central. Now, the day after Danny Roman is killed, the feds are on the wiretap heavy, listening in to Goofy from 56th Street's conversation. Now, Goofy is said to be one of them guys over there. Like I said, he was sitting down for most of this investigation, and he was talking crazy on the phone. But the key thing, it looks like he was looking for Big Rabbit to sponsor him into the Mexican Mafia. The day after Danny Roman's murder, he's on the line speaking with one of his little females named Innocent. Now, Innocent, I don't know if she for sure from PBS. She definitely has a relationship with Goofy, but she also went down in this indictment. He's on the phone with her talking about a murder that he performed in prison on behalf of the Mexican Mafia. She then talks about a murder that she committed being outside. So, of course, the feds start listening to Goofy, because not only was he clearly putting in work, he was also making sure tax money was going up top to Big Rabbit and making sure everything was flowing on the streets from prison. Now, not only are these dudes doing all this shit for the money, Mexican Mafia, all that shit, they still got the beef on the streets. Still beefing with Vadio 36th Street, Vadio 41st Street. Goofy is in communication with Mr. Keep It Hood brother Negro and the dude from Vadio 39th Street named Bullet. Now, Vadio 39th Street, a small hood between the 110 and Main on 39th Street. They only got a couple blocks. It's a very small section over there just north of the Hangout Boys. And Goofy is serving DPs from prison and making sure niggas are performing on their enemies. Now, his conversations with Bullet from 39th Street definitely added some context into a hot topic that a lot of people are talking about right now. Some of the racism that goes on in the city. Now, while Bullet was running his mouth on the line, talking about being in Chopper 12 Hood over here in East LA and shooting at his enemies from Loco Park. Loco Park is another hood in the Low Bottoms by the Rabbits and by Vadio 39th Street. He begins talking about his hatred for black people. Out of nowhere, mid-conversation, while he talking about shooting at Loco Park, at Bristow Park, he breaks out and has an epiphany and just say he fucking hate black people. He say he can't stand blacks. And you know, Goofy joked with him, talking about what's up with Black Lives Matter. He said, fuck Black Lives Matter. He say black dudes be around they section acting all hard and tough, and he don't like that shit. He said he caught a nigga from Grape Street serving rock in his hood. He said he pushed up on him. He said there's no cripping and no blood going on in that section over there, and robbed him for his rocks. And you know, this is the type of shit that Bullet's on over there. And sometimes you will get individuals that are on this type of shit. This is for sure a hot topic that we're gonna speak on in the next video, with the racism between black and brown. But it doesn't happen between everybody. But at the same time, Bullet is trying to get cracking. Negro, Mr. Keep a Hood brother, is out here doing this shit as well. Like I said, the feds say he was a shot caller for the Zoo Riders 35th Street. And the feds caught this dude on wiretap, not only administering DPs, in communication with Goofy about the DPs, he's trying to flock some dudes that's associated with Blue Bucks Clan. Him and Rascal are trying to put the plan together to flock a Blue Bucks Clan associate. I don't know if it's DJ or Jeezy. They had used a code name for him, but they said they was gonna hit his house while he was at a baby shower, and specifically made him the target because he was part of Blue Bucks Clan. But he was also out here hunting for dudes from 36th Street and his own homies, as we see time and time and again. Him and Rascal looking to kill somebody from PBS. It was a lot of DPs being served over here on dudes like Black and Bones. And Goofy was saying if them dudes need multiple DPs, you may as well just kill them, because they was not getting the message. Goofy and Negro were some of the main guys pushing lines over here. Now, while the feds is listening to all this bullshit on the wiretap, a few PBS members go down in a flock that went bad and ended up getting snitched on by a non-affiliate. Now, the feds allege there was 6 confidential informants in this case, and there was a confidential defendant in this case as well. Now, the informants mostly was dealing with the extortion, the firearm purchases, and the dope. You already know how it go. But Crazy's little brother, Fleet, Luis Luna, went on the flock with a dude named Largo. Largo was the one that took this shit to trial and got all PBS business aired out in the streets. Now, even though Big Rabbit and Coco is trying to separate themselves from Crazy and the trap spot on 46, that was still one of the main spots over here in the Playboy's hoods, in the low bottoms, period. So it drew a lot of traffic, and a lot of different people would be up here. One of them dudes is an individual named Jeremiah English. Now, this is a young cat, also black, not from Playboy, but he's hanging out with Crazy and other members of the Rabbit Gang. Up at the spot on 46, he runs into a dude named Zamil Kazilov. And with a name like that, you know, they ended up giving him a nickname and calling him Ponytail because of his hair. So they form a little bond. And Jeremiah English, again, neither one of these dudes is from Playboy, but they kicking it over here with the members. Jeremiah English over here, this dude arguing and speaking on the phone about some money that's owed to him. And this is when Jeremiah English steps in like, hey, I hear you got a dilemma. I could probably help you out with that. So the situation with Ponytail, he was moving weed at the time to some cats in the valley. One individual named Effie Cohen. He had known Effie Cohen's brother from high school, fronted these dudes some pounds, and they ended up running off on him and owing Ponytail about 40-50 racks. Ponytail, who's a young dude at this time, he's still in his 20s, need the racks. Jeremiah English step in and employs these dudes from Eastside Playboy, Largo and Fleet. So the day after Jeremiah English offer his services, they go to the valley, and Largo and Fleet go into the crib acting like they finna buy some weed from this dude, but really got intentions to rob these dudes, lay them down, and run off with the weed and the money. Now, Largo is an older homie, 58 years old at this time. So when this all went down, he was in his mid-50s, living on the one-ways off Grand, smoking meth, and he was caught dealing meth to confidential informants. So the shit's already looking bad when you got somebody like that in a home invasion, man. Right. So they run into the crib, lay these dudes down, and Effie Cohen ends up getting loose in the house, and him and his brother grab straps and start getting off on Crazy's little brother Fleet and Largo in the grow house. Fleet ends up getting shot in the stomach, and Jeremiah English and Ponytail is in the car and pick him up when he run out the house, bleeding from getting popped on a mission that went all bad. Now, Jeremiah English was the one that was close with Crazy, so with his brother being shot in the back seat, he calls Crazy's phone, again, with a wiretap on it, the feds get a front row seat to everything that's transpiring, and they start putting their plan in motion. So Crazy instructs them to drive all the way from the valley and take Fleet to a hospital in Inglewood, which they do. Now, Jeremiah English had a little female that was actually driving the whip, so he instructed her, and they make it to Inglewood. He then says that Largo is doing his own shit. He had a separate vehicle, and he took the money, and they ended up getting out with some weed. They didn't get no money. They thought they had some money, but they had a grip of weed that they got off with. And on wiretap, after they dropped Flea off at the hospital in Inglewood, they said that they headed back to 46, and they trying to figure out where Largo is so he can bring the weed back to the spot. They get back to the spot. This nigga Jeremiah English throw this bitch a dub and told her to hit the car wash to clean the car out. Hey man, somebody shot in this bitch back seat. Badass mission. And this nigga throw this bitch a dub. This is that hood shit. For anybody looking to sign up, this is how this shit plays out a lot of the time.
Right.
So after the female dropped them off on 46, they get back in Ponytail car and they spinning around. But again, the feds listened to this whole situation. They pulled them dudes over as soon as they left the spot, which is a red flag. And with Largo, when he got back to the low bottoms, he had bullet holes in his car. They pulled him over too. And they ended up kicking the door to the spot on 46 in Avalon. So that was a true indicator right there that the feds was on everybody. And a couple days later, the feds show up to Ponytail house. Again, Ponytail, young dude, I believe he's like Jewish or Russian, not involved in the street politics. The feds pull up, his mama talked to them. He's not there. He ends up cooperating with the feds and takes the stand on Largo after he done brought them dudes to the flock in the first place. This was his money that he was trying to get back. Employed these dudes and ended up snitching on them when the shit go bad. Now, initial reports looked like Jeremiah English was gonna go bad too. He had set up a proffer session with these people. July 13, 2023, he indicated that he wanted to cooperate with the government, had a proffer with the feds, which is like an initial meeting when you with your lawyer and you looking to begin cooperation and you just laying out information on the table. And of course, this is when you try to sign for immunity in the case, shit like that. He sat in that room for an hour, but the feds say he didn't end up cooperating and he seemingly stayed silent in this Fed case, man. Now, this indictment has seemingly moved shit around at a pivotal time where Big Rabbit was clearly trying to pull control over PBS and the East Side Low Bottoms, because Danny Roman was killed right in the middle of this investigation. So the feds were able to get on top of the whole switch. And like I said previously, with Coco not being from PBS, they put a lot on her shoulders, and she made statements. She sat up in the room, admitted all guilt, admitted that she knew she was working with known Mexican mafia members, admitted that her marriage to Big Rabbit had Mexican mafia implications behind it. She basically admitted to having the secretary role for enriching members behind the walls. And at the time of her plea agreement, she stated that she was in the process of divorcing Big Rabbit. Now, I don't know how true that is, but this is what happened when she went down. She's the second defendant on this case, snitching on people. And she went down on 2 separate indictments in this case. There was 6 total, but like I said, over 35 people that went down. Aside from this RICO, she had another drug case tied into PBS where they was moving packs between Cleveland and Louisiana. And around this time, the feds tried to say that the Playboys were a major contributor to bringing fentanyl from Mexico into Los Angeles. So they was on these dudes, and Coco found herself in the middle of it after marrying Big Rabbit. They caught her at one point moving 21 pounds of fentanyl wrapped in mustard through UPS in Long Beach. So they had her tied to a lot of shit. Even with her somewhat making statements on this case, she still got hit with 160 months on the RICO. With the lead defendant on this case, Crazy, who they say was the overall shot caller of PBS on the street. I don't know how true that is. They got different people pulling strings in their hood, but you know how they paint it out in these indictments. Through multiple trap spots and the car dealership on 83rd called Luna's Auto Nation, they took pictures of him outside of that spot when somebody was dropping some dope off to him, and it helped glue him to the RICO, despite falling out with Big Rabbit and potentially ended up on the list between Big Rabbit and Wizard. He made it out with his life and got sentenced to 235 months in the feds. Now, Goofy from 5'6", again, an individual that's directly linked to Big Rabbit and for sure getting that money from peso and sending it up top. He still hasn't been sentenced yet. This case is brand new. And like I said, for 90% of it, he was already sitting down in prison, got out, and got wrapped back into a RICO with the feds. Negative, Mr. Keeping Hood's brother also hasn't been sentenced yet, but he took his plea deal, already went through his sentencing memorandum, and he's gonna sit down for some time for what the feds say being a shot caller of 35th Street. His right-hand man, Rascal, who the feds say is shot caller of 43rd Street, was hit with a 132-month sentence. Crazy's brother, one of the Luna brothers, Eduardo Luna, hit with 188 months. And Largo, who did beat some of the charges at trial, did end up getting found guilty for that robbery and got hit with 144 months. So the shit went bad over here in the low bottoms. They got a lot of motion coming out of here. You know the feds have been watching everything that they've been doing this whole time, man.
That shit's insane, and I don't know what to say, bro. Like, shit is crazy. You never know what people are up to, bro. Y'all just really gotta be safe. You know what I'm saying? Protect yourself, bro. You know, do the right thing. You know what I'm saying? Get back, bro, and stay out the way, man. Stay low-key, gang. But look, I'm gonna wrap it up right here. Y'all make sure to comment and subscribe to the videos, gang. And I'm gonna catch y'all niggas in the next one, y'all. Love.